Welcome back. There are very few mayors in California, if not the country, who have done for their city what this mayor has done for his. James Butts is the mayor of Inglewood and is presiding over a remarkable renaissance of that town. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
That we saw this past week with the shoveling and the breaking ground on a $2 billion stadium?
$2.66 billion stadium.
Most expensive in the nation.
In the nation. And it's going to be in the center of a total $7 billion development.
And again, it's not just about stadium. It's about retail. It's about having a place for people to be regardless of whether there's a football game or not.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about 1 million square feet of grade A office space, 1 million square feet of retail and fine dining, a 6,000 seat performing arts theater, a movie theater, a 300 key hotel, 4 parks, 2,500 residential units, and 2 lakes.
And it should be pointed out, you did this negotiating with the most difficult group in the world, the National Football League. How did it happen?
Well, actually, you know, that deal came to fruition on an hour's notice, meeting with Stan Kroenke, a 15-minute meeting that...
The owner of the St. Louis Rams.
St. Louis Rams. Should have been 15 minutes, ended up being 2.5 hours. And by the time we finished that talk, we had the framework of what was going to be the best stadium deal for a city ever in this country, and also the best development for the NFL in the history of the NFL.
But what did you tell him? How did you ensure? How did he know to trust you?
Well, that evolved over that 2.5 hour conversation. You know, his original intent was to acquire the Walmart site, which was 60 acres, and get 100 acres of the Hollywood Park Land Company development. And by the time we finished our conversation, it had morphed into a vision of a joint venture with Hollywood Park Land and Stockbridge Capital, and then to build a stadium if the league allowed, and to work a deal that was financially sensible for the city of Inglewood, which was where the developer put up 100% of the costs, both public and private, so we wouldn't have to bond for it, and then we would reimburse our pieces in a year where we made more than $25 million in total taxes from the total development.
Now, we should point out that prior to becoming mayor, you were in Santa Monica as the chief of police there.
That's correct.
You remember Inglewood when you were a much younger man, back when Showtime was there, Fabulous Forum and Hollywood Park. And then you came back. Out of curiosity, what skills from the police department in managing that agency did you bring to the mayor's office that resulted in this?
That's a very astute question. But first of all, the experience of being in Inglewood when we had the Showtime Lakers on the racetrack doing 38 to 41,000 people 5 days a week, going to Santa Monica, going through that metamorphosis of being known for the homeless and the gang problems that they had, to an international tourist destination, but the police department being such a structured, disciplined organization where we had a sense of urgency about things. That sense of urgency translated in combination with my education of a master's in business to understand that you got to have entertainment if you're going to be a thriving city. Cities that depend on their indigenous property taxes and sales taxes, they get by in the best of times of stock markets, but every recession or things like the housing market crash, they struggle. And you saw that a lot of cities go out of business. Detroit, San Bernardino, Stockton, Vallejo went bankrupt. And so I knew that. And so some of those experiences with my education, discipline from running 3 police departments, enabled me to bring value to the city. And the first thing we did was go after Madison Square Garden. They redid the Forum, $100 million. It's #1 in the state and concert venue for concerts booked, #2 in the country, #4 in the world right now. Follow that up with our negotiations with the NFL and Stan Kroenke, and now we are an embryo slated to do bigger and better things.
Such as?
For instance, right now, since the end of 2012, property values have increased in Inglewood by 85%, and that was before we were awarded the NFL franchise. Since on January 16, when it became known to the world that the Rams would be coming here, properties stay on the market for probably an average of 5 days, and they sell for $15,000 to $25,000 over the asking price. And so, you know.
But isn't there a downside to that? I mean, you have people in your community who see a lot of change. It's positive change, but at some point, are you afraid of a pushback? Listen, we can't afford our neighborhoods anymore.
Well, actually, the beautiful thing is that all our homeowners, they have their choice. If they want to cash in and take their profits and move, they can. But what we're seeing is basically people are staying put. They're glad, proud to live in Inglewood. So what's happening is that where people would sell their properties anyway, they're making a lot of money, and we're having a change in demographics slightly because people that didn't find Inglewood desirable before, they find it desirable now.
Mayor Butts, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to join you.
Nice to see you again. Up next, we take a look at an exhibit at the Los Angeles Public Library as we salute the Bard, Shakespeare in Southern California, when we return.